The Radium Podcast, episode 74. This one's for artists, okay? This one's for artists and producers, I guess.
Not you, Mom and Dad.
Not you, Mom and Dad. Get off our channel. You're not my real mom anyway. All right, we're going to be talking about the 4 pillars of your music career because truly, we got to organize this somehow, right?
Yeah, people, they just focus on one pillar. They just go like, oh, I'm going to be the best rapper.
My shit's going to be dope. I'm going to wear some chains.
I got the craziest flows.
I don't know why we always directed at rappers. There's also singers, songwriters, pop artists. There's all sorts.
Everybody's a rapper, dude.
Everyone's a rapper now, yeah. It's 2020 going into 2020.
Tyrese is a rapper, man.
Everyone's a rapper. Tyrese is a rapper.
He had a long singing career, but now he's a rapper.
Will's a rapper, and he's behind the camera, dude. Rapping in Brazilian Portuguese. No. All right, so let's get right into it. Number one top pillar, of course, is the art, right? It's the music. It's got to be the music. It's got to be the music. If your music isn't at a point where it's market viable, I recommend going back and getting into the studio, writing, practicing theory, whatever, get into Cthulhu or Captain Chords, do whatever you got to do to get your artistry down, your actual product.
Okay, let's break that down and do a couple things here because the art is very, very broad.
Yeah, and subjective.
And I know people think when you're talking about music and you're talking about musicians, you're only thinking very one small, oh, my raps.
Yeah. My bars are hard. My bars are hard.
No. Okay, so when we say the art, we're talking about production, talking about your beat choices, what type of things you're rapping on. Are you doing Michael Jackson or are you doing trap beats? You know what I mean?
Right,
or are you doing Michael Jackson trap beats? You know what I mean? Maybe that's the thing. But what I was saying is that's part of your art. That's production. That's everything minus your voice. And so if you're a producer and you're making beats, then obviously that is your forefront. But if you're an artist and we're talking your art, obviously your singing, your vocal tone, the way that you sing, whether you're doing falsetto all the time, or if you're doing, maybe you're freaking doing opera. You know what I mean?
Right.
Maybe that's your vibe. That's your art. And then also, I would say your art also includes your visuals, which are your music videos and stuff. That's part of your art, you know what I mean, about who you are.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's the, where does your music translate, to a visual medium? That's your art. So,
right.
But you could include your merch, you know what I mean? That's technically your art too.
Yeah, but I would stick to the first pillar being around the actual songs, the actual music. Just because as an artist or as a producer or whatever, it has to be the focal point has to be the music, right?
Sure, but that's all inclusive though. That's what I'm saying. Your art is your manifestation of who you are.
But that's why
these different mediums.
We're organizing this into 4 pillars, Kevin.
Yeah.
So we can get organized with it. And,
but if you want to put your t-shirts into your business pillar, sure, then we could do that. But
sure,
you know what I mean. But I'm talking about the actual designs. What does that look like?
Sure.
You know what I mean. I'm talking about what is your music video. I'm not talking into the business side of it.
I think the art is an extension of you, right? And as artists come out, as producers come out, as composers come out, we always have a lot of influence in our music to start out. People will go, man, you sound like this and that cross with this. This song sounds like Michael Jackson met this and this, right? So everyone's always going to compare you. Man, you did a Drake line there. You kind of sound like Drake. That's good. But you got to find your own voice. You got to do your thing, and that's your art, right? Yeah. So you're going to sound kind of like your influences. That's always going to happen, especially up front. Mm-hmm. And it's because we are constantly copying songs. We're constantly learning from songs, producers that have been doing it for a long time, that are doing stuff that are like, wow, Kanye comes out with a new gospel album, and we're like, oh my God, what is he doing? That's crazy. When it's been done a million times. Gospel isn't new, but Kanye West doing gospel is new, right? So your art is an extension of who you are. It should sound like you. It should feel like you. People should go, wow, that's another side of you. It's the third dimension, the fourth dimension of who you are.
And if you're Iron Maiden, it means skeletons.
That's right.
On your t-shirts.
That's right.
Or
because that's what you dig, and it's an extension
Michael
of
Jackson,
your art.
You got zombies in the video because you're doing Thriller. You know what I mean?
So that's number one. I think if your art is not there, you need to get your art there. And don't get me wrong, you could have these 4 pillars. They could be at 40% each, right? You could have 40% here. You're 70% here. You're at 30% over here. You just got to make sure that the pillars are being worked on. And that's absolutely a cornerstone of music. And if you're going to be an artist, you have to focus on the art.
And typically a lot of artists, they focus heavily on the art, almost sometimes to a fault.
Yep.
And then they're expecting like everyone else to do everything else. So let's get to the everything else part, which is
Facts.
number 2.
So number 2, absolutely branding, marketing, which is it kind of sucks because everybody nowadays has become a professional marketer, but they have terrible art or they lack a lot of other things. So they're marketing something that like they don't have anything to market, but they're really good at marketing. Like I heard someone say the other day, they're like, yeah, man, it's like everybody's taking pictures of their shoe store, but there's no shoes in the store.
Yeah.
You know, they're on Instagram making posts and they're doing all
everyone
stuff.
thinks they're professional though. That's the next part of it,
facts.
Yeah.
I'm lit. You know, I'm out and I'm sitting on someone else's fucking, you know, Aston Martin or Bugatti or whatever. I'm wearing someone else's clothes, you know, like I'm borrowing money to get jewelry to put on and I'm branding myself and I'm marketing myself, but then your music isn't there, your art isn't there, and it's like, what?
Yeah.
What are you marketing?
Let's break it down into factuals though. So if you're into marketing, you know that like one of the major things is what's your story, right? Story.
Yeah, facts.
So that's like really important to touch on. Like, so with your brand, your brand has to tell a story. Yeah. And honestly, I'll pass it to you, Brad, because I know you probably want to dig into this.
Yeah, so a big part of marketing, I think, is you have to hook people first, right? So you have to throw a hook at someone like, yo, why do they want to hear your story, first of all, right? So what are you offering? Like, what is your thing? Yo, I'm going to change your life with this music. I'm the Kanye West meets Drake had a baby and I'm going to make you feel a certain way, whatever it is, right? You have to throw a hook out there with the marketing, with the brand. It has to be something that's appealing that people would want to click on or watch or whatever.
What's Nike's hook?
What's up?
What's Nike's hook?
Nike's hook, just do it. You know, it's like just do it. And then their hook is they're going to throw these athletes on this beautifully colored, you know, commercial or this quick shot thing, and it's going to capture your attention. You're like, whoa. And then they're going to tell a story, right? They're in a marathon, or then it's the basketball player and they're sweating and they're going through it. They're just doing it, right? So the story is going to be, you have to really like get connected with your audience, right? Like, so marketing to me is like, why do I want to listen to you? Okay, so you threw a hook, I'm interested, that looks really cool, I'm going to click on it. But now, like, what's going to keep me listening or watching or want to dig deeper into who you are as an artist or whatever? I got to actually, I got to have something in you know, I have to be invested in you. I have to go, wow, they're just like me, or wow, I'm going through that problem as well. You have to tell a story that's going to make me connect with you, right? Because you're trying to connect with your audience. You're an artist. You want them to see your vision. You want to hook them in, and then you want to go deeper with them, right?
Yeah.
So the story is all about like connecting with people and then telling them the story where they would want to hear the rest of the story.
Yeah, and so we're talking about brand, right? Yeah. So basically your brand is kind of all encompassing, but it is like the manifestation of your art. So when it comes to like, okay, when they look at you, what color t-shirts do you wear? What type of shoes do you have? You know what I mean? And what type of clothing, you know what I mean? Like Britney Spears' brand is way different from Adele's brand, you know what I mean? It's like, you know, what do you represent, right? Story, all that stuff. So.
When I see what you wear, like I should hear your music. And I mean that, you know, I don't mean that like literally. I mean like when I see what you wear, I'm like, oh, I can kind of envision what they might sound like or what they might look like and sound like on the stage if I go to their show.
I mean, just look at, you know, if we want to put it into rap, I think people like rap examples, but like J. Cole, you know what I mean?
Yeah, you look at him,
you're like, damn, he looks like, you know, Jesus is walking the earth or something, you know what I mean? No, I'm just throwing shade, but yeah, no, that's his brand. His brand is like a little more underground than you know, your typical mainstream rappers. You look at your mainstream rappers and what do they got? Colored hair and
it's like the pick is like
blue
the
and
dude
face
with,
tats, you know what I mean?
The
That's
dude
their
with
brand.
his fucking his grill, you know?
Yeah, that's the brand.
He's like doing the, you know, like, okay, that's gonna be some trap shit.
Yeah. So yeah.
So that has to be all encompassing. I think like major pillar. It has to be a cornerstone of you in your music business. You have to brand up. You have to be good at marketing. So let's talk about just one thing that I see all the time that I think is a huge mistake that artists make is to think that people would actually give a shit about you when they don't know you, right? You just throw some piece of content out there like, I'm awesome, I'm dope, and you should just fuck with me, right? That's not a story. Don't do that. You throw a hook and then you tell a story. You need to connect with people with where they're at. You showing them, this whole money thing used to be a cool thing. Putting a stack of money on your ear shows them that they have nothing in common with you and they don't want to listen to you. They don't want to watch you. They don't want to hear your story because it's like, I don't have anything in common with you. I don't have $100,000 up on my ear. Right?
No, but it shows what you value. So if you value money, you might think that person's lit. But that just that's people's brands. So,
but then you have to tell a story around that. That could be a hook. But like, how am I going to go buy your album?
It's not a very good hook, but
it's a terrible hook.
I mean, but that's opinion based.
But it's also a cliche, used out, dated hook.
But that's what I'm saying. So the things that you do just like that are part of, you know what I mean, what your brand is. So like I said, you're posting money all the time. You're making it part of your brand. Right. You post you smoking weed all the time. That's part of your brand. They're like, oh, he must be a stoner. His raps must be stoney.
Right.
You know what I mean?
But that's my point. Is that the biggest mistake that a lot of artists are making is they're throwing a hook, but they're not telling a story. Because there's nothing there. There's no depth. And if there's no depth, you won't connect with people like J. Cole connects with people, like Kanye West connects with people, like Drake connects with people, because they tell stories and they get you involved and they bring their dad into the Instagram thing and they tell you something that you can connect to, that you can relate with. And nobody can relate with you just throwing hooks all the time. You're like, hook, 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 me with money, me with the grill, me at a show, I'm so lit, I'm so dope, I'm so dope. And then people are like, cool, what else you got? And you're like, I don't have a story. I'm just out here just trying to be cool, right? There's no depth there. And that's the biggest mistake for me personally. I think that most artists are making where they never launch their career off. They're not taking this pillar seriously. They're not doing the hook story and then having an offer of coming out and saying, come to my show, buy my t-shirt, become part of my community.
Yeah, and it's funny because a lot of people think you just like, oh, I gotta look different.
I just gotta look different.
I gotta. If you're a chick, I gotta wear wigs, or you know what I mean.
Yeah, I gotta wear these
like
different shoes that nobody wears, or really bright clothes,
full leather outfit.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
yeah. Facts.
Yeah. No, it's deeper than that.
Yeah, you got a hook, story, offer. It's like that's your basic concept of a brand marketing pillar. And then number 3, and coming in like probably kind of inclusive with this, is your audience, right? You have to speak to your audience. You have to know who your audience is. What if you don't have an audience already? Make one up. Shoot for an audience. Design. This is this person. It's Kevin. He likes this kind of food. He likes hanging out at the studio. This is the kind of music he likes. He is a little bit more into the studio production side. He knows a little bit about gear, etc. That's my audience, right? Or my audience is this 19-year-old girl. She likes this. She hangs out with her friends, goes, gets bottles of vodka, has house parties, lives in the suburbs, whatever it is. Like
60-year-old female who is a big Justin Bieber fan.
Yeah, big Justin Bieber fan, has a ton of fun with her friends, has like recipes that she cooks casseroles and like has a book club. Whatever it is, dude, like you got to find your audience, design them. If you don't know who your audience is,
you can target them.
Facts.
Back to all the fun stuff that we just talked about.
And the most important thing around this is knowing your art, your brand, and then designing your audience around who you're trying to connect with, right? Because if you're trying to connect with people that are completely outside of your audience, you're literally throwing your brand and your art out into the world to the wrong people that don't give a shit about it. You can't market it. You can't put ads into it. You can't put a company into it. You can't really build a business off of it.
And I'll make it really clear that you have to figure out where your audience is once you figure out your audience. So that's just like really important. It's
100%.
like if you're going for the young crowd, then maybe you need to be going super hard on SoundCloud. Or if you're going for the old crowd, maybe the old crowd, you need to hit Pandora super hard, or you know what I mean? Some of these other parts, but everyone just starts to think like, oh, there's only one place to blow up.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
right. We got to be on Spotify. Pay for streams.
Playlists. Yeah. No, you need to, if you're making music that is, aged 25 to 45, then maybe you need to hit Pandora, like I said.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, you find out where your audience
hit
lies.
Facebook really hard. You know what I mean? Those are aged up
easy
platforms, so yeah.
Facts. You're not on TikTok, running a TikTok campaign if you're like making classical music and, you're into the fine arts and classical music and you're a composer, right?
Yeah.
Like you get on LinkedIn, you start connecting with the movie producers, film producers, TV
get on
producers.
MySpace, right?
Yeah, get on MySpace.
You get on AIM and you
What's the biggest piece of advice we could give you in 2019? Get on MySpace.
you go on AOL, Instant Messenger, you start hitting them up.
Dude, get on that instant messenger game, man. You gotta cold instant message people on AOL.
Create a Hotmail.
You gotta go to www.hotmail.com, okay? And you're just gonna spam email everybody.
All right, Brad. What's our number 4, the best and Brad's favorite pillar?
The best and the best.
Brad loves this pillar. Go ahead.
I mean, it's not that I love it. I just think it's completely necessary. Is your business, right? And your 4th pillar has to be your business, because we are talking about the 4 pillars that can be a successful music career for you, and a career involves business.
What do you sell? At what price?
Yes, everything, man. It's sure. I'm going to take, the marketing and all that stuff. The branding needs to be a separate pillar because it is so important. But when we talk about the business, we talk about your team. We talk about having a lawyer, right?
We're really talking about activating the last 3 pillars.
Yeah, activating this thing where it can actually make
brand,
money.
What does it look like? How does it sound? That's taking the art.
Facts.
And then the audience part. It's like who.
Yep.
So,
and the business is, what do I do with all of this? What do I do with my art, my brand? Exactly. So the business really is, for me, is to be able to take all of this stuff and monetize it so that you can make a living off of your music and not have to do it part-time, and you can, make money off your publishing, your copyright, your master stuff. You can make deals with publishers, with record labels. You can get advances. You have a lawyer. You have a team, a structure, a manager. You got your producer, your engineers, the people in your team and your group that you're working with consecutively. You have a budget that you can roll out projects every month. You have a release strategy. That's your business, right? The release strategy now, of course, is going to be based around your other 3 pillars. It's going to be your art, it's going to be your brand and marketing, and it's going to be, are you paying attention, Kev? Number 3?
What is number 3? I just forget the order of these things. You know what I mean?
I know, I got to look at it too.
Number 3 was the audience, right? So yeah.
I always got to take little notes on my phone.
I had like 3?
Yeah. And your audience, right? So you have to have all that stuff mapped out to actually take advantage of the business, right? And be able to scale that business up and have the right team around that business, is to know those other 3 pillars.
Well, that business feeds the other pillars. So if you're wondering, if you're sitting here worrying about your branding and you have no money.
Yeah. What are you going to do? I got to get a logo done, but I don't have any money to spend on a logo. Great. You don't have that pillar figured out. And like what I was saying before, it's like you can be 30% here, 50% here, killing it on your art. Your art could be at like 80%. You're just a great artist, but you don't have your business together. None of it works, right?
I'll say this though, being in the music industry for, a good 10 now, I'd say I've met people who have like really focused on a lot of these different ones. I've met artists who focus so much on the business that they end up managing other artists. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It happens.
They're able to handle that for other artists better than they are for themselves.
Totally.
You know what I mean? Monetize and that. They're just not good at creating the art. You know what I mean? Because they didn't put enough into their first pillar. And then I've met people who are super good at marketing, and they come, they're super popping on Instagram, but they're trash at actually making music.
They can't release for dog
and they don't
shit,
know how to make any money off of it once they do. You know what I mean?
And they're like rolling up they're scaling up buying streams and buying all their views on YouTube, and they look really popping, but they can't get anything done.
Or you could have attributed that to audience and say, oh, you're really good at marketing, like with like this person's like page, it looks like a professional artist, but they don't have any actual content, like
they go play a show
and they still don't have any fans
up.
either.
Yeah, exactly.
They got this beautiful looking website, and it's like, yo, you got really good marketing, but you're not actually doing any business, so what the hell is that even?
And you're not feeding the audience, and you don't even know who your audience is,
and you haven't created enough music for there to be enough art there, period.
Look, a lot of the troubles come around like the ego in music, right? It's, I make great art, I'm dope, I have my brand up, which is like me being flashy and I'm dope. But then getting so egotistical about that you're not thinking about any artist or any audience. You're just thinking people should just fuck with you, right? And when they don't, you're mad at them for some reason. Like, you should just mess with me. So you're afraid to market that stuff and ask for people to repost or pay for ads, etc. And then your business is all over the place because you're like, I don't have any money to do that because I spent all this money on this jacket, these shoes to look dope in this video. I'm serious. You're lacking in all these areas, but you have one area really figured out, and then all of a sudden you're the creative director for another artist that has those things figured out. And that happens all the time, and there's nothing wrong with that. Like, I see it all the time where like someone's an artist and then they become like a producer, right? Yep. And then they're like just super
into business.
They get really into the business and they become a publisher or an A&R at a record label. Nothing wrong with it.
I was gonna say this though. It's like if we could give people advice what to focus on, and of course you could say focus on them equally, but the truth is there's important ones in there and there's not important ones. Yeah. If you have to focus on two, I'm going to say the art and the business. If you can get those two things down, you later on you'll get a goddamn stylist, you'll get someone to put your fucking brand together. Yeah. But if you don't make any money, then you can't get anywhere, or
you don't know how to manage
and
the
if
money.
Your art is not good enough, you're not going to get anywhere. I'm sorry. It's like it's
really tough.
Yeah. So
yeah, you're like, I'm the greatest marketer of this music. That
if you don't know your
about.
audience, but you can turn a dollar, you know what I mean, and you're still making money, but you don't know who the hell's buying, and you haven't put it together, that's fine. You know what I mean? And a lot of artists, I'll say, they lean on different parts. You know what I mean?
Super hard. The marketing thing just became
even
really
large
popular.
Artists. You know what I mean? Big artists lean on certain things. Like there's certain artists like Tekashi 6ix9ine. You know, to bring this guy back up, he was really good at marketing.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
He wasn't the greatest artist. You're not going to put him up there with Michael Jackson and you know, whatever legends, you know, of making art. Right. But he was really good at marketing. You know what I mean?
Hey, he may come right back around, dude. You never know. Make the hottest album.
And he had an
prison.
image. His image was unique. You know what I mean? Yeah. Goddamn colorful as hell. But you go back to Drake, who's really good at the art, but I don't see many people dressing and looking like Drake. His image, you know what I mean?
It's too grown up.
Yeah, well, it's like, you know, when you see people dress up like people for Halloween, you don't see people like really dress up like Drake. You know, and this is no diss. His art is really great, so his brand leans heavily on that. You know what I mean?
100%.
And then there's certain brands like DJ Khaled who lean heavy on the business. You know what I mean? He's got everybody on his songs because he's handling the business.
He's great with marketing and branding.
He's
promo,
damn near an A&R. You know what I mean? So
he is a brand. He's a huge brand. That's his big thing. You know?
Yeah. So he's got the marketing and the business down.
He could be on a commercial selling fucking cars. People would be like, "I'll buy those cars because DJ Khaled." You know.
And then you could say Lady Gaga has the craziest image, or you know what I mean? You could throw different artists in that lane, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where their image is everything. So
yeah. And I think these things change over time. I mean, that's the biggest thing is that don't be afraid to shift. Don't be afraid to pivot. Don't be afraid, like, I'm known for this. This is what you get a lot. Like, we get records in from these old school cats or these new cats or whatever, and it's like they're afraid to pivot. They're like, people are going to expect this from me. You're like, dude, what if Kanye thought like that? What if Drake thought like that? Yeah. What if all these guys just thought like that all the time? They would not have long-lasting careers. They just have like, well, they just expect this of me, and then they just become washed up, and then, you know.
Yeah, and I'll
pivot.
Keep it real. Yeah, like the longer-lasting artists, they figure out the business, because if they don't, they're out. They're out of there. They go broke, and you know what I mean? Or they fuck it up, and they get shelved, or because they don't know their business. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's tough. It's a tough business, and the reason it's so tough is because you're you know, someone's not focusing on one of the pillars that are really important. Like the business pillar is very important. The branding and marketing pillar, it's really important once you have other things in place, you know? Like you don't want to go marketing music that's not ready to be marketed. It's not market viable. Why push it, right?
Got to get the art right.
Yeah, you got to get the art right. And if you don't know how to get the art right, you need to ask people. You need to get test subjects, get groups of your friends together, get in the studio with people, pay studio time, get in with engineers and say, hey, how could this be better, etc. You know?
But that's our recommendation. I'd say this. I'd say there's definitely artists out there that haven't live by that model.
No,
they got really good at the art and they got really good at marketing it, and then someone else came in with the business.
Yeah, well, we've always talked.
I'd say that like Lil Nas X is a good example of that. Like he got the art and he got the marketing, the image, the brand. You know what I mean? He did the cowboy hats, and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That worked really well, and then someone came in, handled that business.
Right.
You know, he connected the dots. You know what I mean? Figured out his audience.
Yeah, and let's just say,
or maybe he figured out his audience. I don't know.
Let's say this too. Let's say this too. Like everything that we would talk about on this podcast, it being the Radium podcast and being about the music business, is all about longevity in a music career. about having a pop fucking hit single and dropping off of the planet.
No, you can have that. You just got to know how to pivot.
It's cool, but like,
That's why you got to get on your goddamn business.
like
you want to be Jay-Z, you got to get your business up.
Exactly. Like we want to see people, and we want to see ourselves, of course, as well, succeed over a long period of time in the music industry. You want to have a career, and that's what this is about, the 4 pillars to your music career, not the 4 pillars to getting a music song for a couple years, having some money from music. You know, like, I think that that's a big difference, is that there's a lot of people that come into music, make some money, get out of music. Right? They go into other stuff. They go into sports. They go into acting. They go into whatever else.
What about owning streaming companies?
Right. You know what I mean?
Or doing management labels and
real estate. You know what I mean? And like, people come in like, this is where I'm going to make all my money in music. This is a bad choice. Sorry. But like, coming in to make a bunch of money in music and then jumping out is like
pretty typical.
Yeah, but there's so many other places you could do that way quicker.
Yeah.
You know, there's e-commerce, there's the internet now. Yeah, there's Bitcoin, dude. Like, go in when it's slow and go get out. Well, I hate hearing about that stuff. It's so whack to me. Whatever, I just don't understand it, you know? So, you know, understanding the music industry and the business of being in it for a long time, that's what we're talking about here. So, get those pillars right, get them correct, know which ones you have really high, because sometimes, like you said, Kev, you can have some of those really high and you can actually attract the people that can come in and build the other pillars, right?
Yeah, who do you want to be, Tekashi or Jay-Z? Jay-Z focused on the art and the business.
Yep.
That's why he's the greatest of all time, because he focused on the art and then he got his business up.
Facts. And I think that's a really good ploy, is like, get your music awesome, understand your audience, and then just go out there and just crush releases and your audience, and you know, do what Russ did if you want to do that, you know, like, just release and build that audience and feed that fan base, and then let other people come in and go, man, can we get in on this business? Can we get in on this? I want to be part of your independent thing, you know? Can I be your manager? Can I do this? Can I do that? Can I help you with this? And those other pillars will come up.
Yeah, he got like the biggest booking agent in the entire game.
Like, you don't need to go learn everything about music business and, like, you know, not be making records. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, oh, well, I lack there. I better go learn all the laws of music.
Everyone did it. Yeah, there's so many people who did all that other stuff,
yeah,
and then just didn't touch the art. You know?
And then they forget to, oh, shit, I haven't released records in 6 months or a year or 2 years.
Or I've been trying to push this one record that's not very good for super hard. I got it everywhere.
I got to learn how to market. No, you don't.
You're marketing a piece of trash. You know what I mean? So.
But anyway, this hopefully is helpful for you guys. You know, if you're in music, you're releasing records, if you're making beats, starting a beat store, whatever, like, that's the hope here, is you could take this information and hopefully it helps you kind of like, you know, whoa, that's an epiphany that came out. Go tap in with Kev. Go spam his DMs at KDE Beats on IG.
At Bradley HD, go holler at him for the tip of the day.
Every day. I mean, not every day, but pretty much every day. And go.
If you want to see pictures of his dog and
that's right,
dog life.
Yeah, that's right. Get on TikTok then.
At Ziggy Bubbles.
At Ziggy Bubbles.
Who's not here today.
Yeah, poor guy. I miss him. But yeah, thanks for tuning in. And that's a wrap.
No cap.